בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים, שבוע טוב, חודש טוב. The shiur B'ezrat Hashem tonight was Sunday night, Sha'arei Tzion. We are continuing our shiurim on Sunday night. The last month or so we've been doing a different shiur, a different topic each week. So far so good. Baruch Hashem, until further notice, maybe we'll start a series at some point. I know a few people have asked me about starting new series. They've suggested different sfarim to do it, but it's easier said than done to do a series on a sefer, even if you have the sefer. You have to really be baki in the inyan. You have to be an expert in the sefer if you're going to do a series on it, because people are depending on you, even if it's a one person or 1,000 people, or Baruch Hashem, tens of thousands of people watching the shiurim. You have to know what you're doing before you do a series. Plus, it's a very big commitment, because a lot of the things that people suggest are usually big sfarim. So you're talking about a multi-year commitment, especially with the way I talk. A short conversation for me is 45 minutes. How you doing? 45 minutes later. Good, good. So B'ezrat Hashem, today's shiur will be for Refuah Shlema, for Sarah Bat Levana, for Levana Bat Sarah, for Ovadia ben Levana, Yosef ben Levana, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Chaim ben Sarah, also for Dvorah Bat Mercedes, Elisheva Chaya Bat Sarah, Yochevet Bat Batya, Batya Bat Sarah, Naomi Bat Sarah, and all of Am Yisrael B'ezrat Hashem will have Refuah Shlema, Refuat HaNefesh, Refuat HaGuf. So today, some of the things I wanted to talk about is really less halachic, like we did in the last couple of lectures, and more of the practical day-to-day battle that each and every one of us deals with, where if you're watching me for more than one or two lectures, by now you realize that we don't sugarcoat, we don't even know how to do it. We tell you what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said and what Chazal said, and take it as you may. You like it, you don't like it, it's really not my responsibility. My responsibility is to give you the emet, and you do what you please with it. The question is, what do you want to be? Do you want to be Yaakov, or do you want to be Esav? And in the merit of this week's Parashat Toldot, where we meet both of them, we meet Esav and Yaakov, which in essence are the two powers in the world today. You have Yaakov, the tzaddikim, the people that are trying their best to do the will of Hashem, and you have Esav, which are the rest of the people that are doing everything in their power to destroy everything that Hashem wants. The question is, who do you want to be? That's the question. Now, practically speaking, most people, if you're watching me after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lectures, and you continue watching after that, you at the very least desire to be like Yaakov. You desire to be like Sarah Imenu. You desire to be like Avraham, Yitzchak. You desire to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Nothing less. You desire to be like Miriam. You desire to be like David HaMelech. You want to be. You hear so many wonderful things said about these people. Why wouldn't I want to be like them? What's the problem? The problem is that we have desires also. While we desire to be like Yaakov, we also have desires like Esav. Not to be like Esav. We just desire the same stuff he does. We don't want the same verse to be written on us, Et Esav Saneti. Hashem hates Esav. No one wants Hashem to write a verse in the Torah in heaven, it's such and such, I hate him. Oh, you know him? Yeah, I hate him. Who wants to go up to Shamayim and says, oh, here's that guy. Yeah, Hashem, that's the guy you hate, right? Yeah, it's him. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to go up to Shamayim and be, the one that everyone's pointing on. Every single generation is going to point at him. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, David, Shlomo, all the tzaddikim. From the time of the beginning all the way to today, all going to point at, oh, here's the Rasha. Here's the guy that you said you hate, Hashem. Hey. You don't want that. He's the guy that destroyed your brit, Hashem. That's the guy. Yeah, that's the criminal. No one wants that. The embarrassment a person will have, he would want death all over again. The embarrassment a woman that lived her life immodestly in this world will experience in Shamayim the second she arrives, she would want to die again. You can move the bag, Tzaddik. You can move the bag. It's not the holy thing. The embarrassment she would feel just the second she arrives, when every single generation from the beginning of time points at her and says, oh, that's the criminal. She would want to die again. Such embarrassment. No one wants to be Esav. No one wants to be such a criminal. But we all have to admit, we have desires like Esav. We have desires like Esav. We do. So what do we do when we want to be like Yaakov, but our desires not so much? Yaakov, Ish Oalim, he's in the tent all day learning Torah. Today a guy tells me, oh, listen, I'm in a new level. I'm in a new level now. I studied a whole hour today. I watched the movie after. I watched HBO after, Shem Yerachem. I watched, sports after. And a little bit before, and sometimes during. But I did a whole hour today. I'm Yaakov, right? Mini, micro, something. The Y. The U, like the half of the Yud, maybe. People don't want to be Ish Oalim where you're in the tent 18, 19 hours a day. Okay, you don't have to be. But can you do 8? No. Okay, can you do 5? How about this? Why don't you do a couple of hours, but just the rest of the time stop making averot like Esav? How about that for a deal? That's the key. Not everyone can immediately elevate themselves to such a high level of Kedusha that they could take their body and simply ignore it. Ignore all of its desires and say, no, food, no, later. When? Tomorrow maybe. Physical desires, no, on Shabbat I'll see you. On Shabbat I'll see you. I'm learning all week. Talk to you on Shabbat. Who can do that? Not many. A few, Baruch Hashem, in the world, but not that many. I have Baruch Hashem, Talmidei Yeshiva, they learn all day, they sin at night, Hashem Yerachem. They learn all day in the Kohen, Yeshiva, everything, the rabbi tells them, but why they call me? Because they're addicted to all the toivot in the world. All the filth in the world, they're addicted. Meaning, all of the Torah that they learn all day, all of it goes to the Sitra Achra. All of it goes to the Satan. Why? You learned all day, so it has to go somewhere. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not want a Torah full of filth. So he has to give it to someone. Oh, we give it to the Satan. That's what the Zohar HaKadosh says about certain sins, especially the sins of the young ones. The young generation that's addicted to Pgam Brit, women that are promiscuous, immodesty, all of the mitzvot go to the Satan, Hashem Yachem. But the good news is, when they do Teshuvah, they can get it all back and turn all of their averot into mitzvot, even more. The reality is, what's the difference between Esav and Yaakov? The difference is, Rabotai Yekarim, is desires. They both have the same desires. Just one controls them and one does not. Now we see in this week's parasha, Parashat Toldot, we meet Esav and Yaakov. Interestingly, after very little that we've learned about Yitzchak, which will, Bezrat Hashem, if we have the time, we'll cover why there's so little about Yitzchak. You see, Avraham Avinu, 3 different parashot. Yaakov, the rest of Sefer Bereshit talks about Yaakov. Yitzchak, there's maybe, 5 verses that mention his name. This is Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It's not like Avraham and, Yaakov, and then there's someone in between. Yitzchak, Kodesh Kodeshim. But there's very little about Yitzchak. It seems like there's even more about Esav than there is about Yitzchak. How come? But here when we first meet Esav, we see that already from the beten, already from his mommy's belly, already had midot mushchatot. He already had corrupted character traits. Already desired the avodah zarah. What does it mean, desired avodah zarah? Well, he wanted to go find Yoshke. That was his grandson, by the way. There's a Mikvah that says that they found, I think I told you guys the Chidush, the Esav, Gilgul of Yoshke. I gave you guys the Chidush about this about a year ago. Yoshke is JC, Jesus, the fool. By the way, for anyone that takes offense for me making fun of Avodah Zarah, good, get offended. Learn Gemara, you'll see that it's a mitzvah from the Torah to make fun of Avodah Zarah. Mitzvah. Mitzvah just like you eat kosher, just like you put on tefillin, just like you keep Shabbat, you make fun of Avodah Zarah, it's a mitzvah. Sometimes people send me mail, oh, it's not so nice that you make fun of the Christians. I don't make fun of the Christians. I make fun of their beliefs. Why? To help them get out of that filth. So they could also be part of Chasdei Umot HaOlam. You know how many Christians I got out of that filth, and now they're Baruch Hashem Tzadikim? Not me, Torah. But if I told them, no, it's okay, everything's okay, we love you, it's okay, guess what? They get much worse. Start inviting me to churches or something. Then you guys are not going to have a No, I'm kidding. Not allowed to go to church. Anyway, Rabotai, we see that Esav and Yaakov already in the beginning there is a battle. There's a battle, a very famous battle, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells their mother Rivka, Vayomer Adonai la shne goim bebitnech ushne leomim me'aich. You have two nations in your belly. How is it? One's a Jew, one's Christian. How could it be? Same belly, no conversion, no bedin. Already inside, both one tzaddik, one rasha. How can it be? Chazal says that why was this question? Why did Rivka ask for this prophecy? She asked for news. What's going on here, Kadosh Baruch Hu? I'm scared. I went by the Bet Midrash. Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ale'ain. Yaakov is celebrating. He starts singing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we love you, everything. He's happy. He's so quiet. Like, it's Bet Midrash again. But she goes past the church, Hashem Yilachem. Esav starts dancing, starts doing all types of Christmas carol. By the way, as a side note, just to make you guys happy, Baruch Hashem, we took a little walk on Shabbat. And unfortunately, you live in America, you have goyim. And even in Jewish neighborhoods. Not that necessarily the goyim are always bad, just it's goyim that you want to live in a Jewish neighborhood. You also can have goyim. And the goyim also express themselves. So part of the things they do at this time of the season is they put their Xmas stuff. The Santa, Shmenta, all that nonsense. Some fat guy with a suit that Coca-Cola invented. No, that's the truth. If you look at the history, who Santa Claus is, he looks nothing like that guy, first of all. He was some guy from Christianity invented him. But the reason why he's red and white is because Coca-Cola invented it. That's the history. People don't know that they're worshiping Coca-Cola. Now, when we pass by, how do you know, Baruch Hashem, that the education of a kid is going in the right direction? When you pass by, my wife and I are talking, got the little babies in the carriages, and my daughter, God bless her, she points, Ima, that's the Yetzirah, that's the Yetzirah. Pointing, what, Yetzirah? Oh, look, Santa. Shtabach Shimolad. I said that it was worth it to come to the world just for this. It was worth it to come to the world just for this. Now, if that wasn't good enough, there was a few girls, Jewish girls, that forgot half their clothes at home. They forgot, they get forgetful. So you wear like a half a skirt and a half a shirt. And they're all, walking around on Shabbat. Sometimes with my wife, God bless her, she shows my kids, different videos, educational videos, Torah, Aleph Bet, all types of things, and use the internet for it. And sometimes, it has an advertisement. So my wife tells them, close your eyes, advertisement. Why? Because 99% of the time, it's filth on these advertisements. They show you half-naked women selling soap. What does the half-naked woman have to do with the soap? I have no idea. Get a car wash today, but there's a naked woman. What does that have to do with her? I'm getting a car wash. Everything is always filth. So my wife, God bless her, what does she do? She tells the kids, close your eyes, advertisement. That's what she does. So we keep walking. Same walk. Same walk. Walking. And then these girls are walking up the street. And Ovadia says, Ima, advertisement, close your eyes. Advertisement, close your eyes. Ishtabach Shimola, 2.5-year-old tzaddik. Just for that, it was worth it to come to the world. I could go to Allah and say, hey, Hashem, I did it. No, come on, find me. Come on, advertisement. I should call, from now on, that's what I'm calling immodesty, advertisement. Advertisement. Watch out, close your eyes, Ima, advertisement. Ishtabach Shimo. So I figured I'd make you guys a little happy in the beginning. Before I scare you, no. So now we see Esav and Yaakov already battling. Yaakov wants to go to the Bet Midrash, learn Torah. Esav wants to go to a place of Avodah Zarah. He wants to be Buddha, Shmuda, all those things. What does it really mean? Christianity wasn't even born yet. Buddhism, no one's even heard of it. What does it really mean he wanted to go to a place of Avodah Zarah? So, the truth is, Rabotai, we find this out, what he really wanted, shortly later. When Esav sees Yaakov, after he did what he did throughout the day, and he sees that Yaakov has a dish, chulent. He has a nice, beautiful dish of food. And he says to him, give me from this adoma adomaze, this red stuff. Ki ayef anochi al ken kara shmo Edom. Give me this red stuff, because I'm really tired, to the point where he's almost going to die, he says. And on that, his name became Edom. He wants something Adom, because the dish was red. Adom is red. And because of that, his name is Edom, which sounds like Adom. Edom sounds like Adom. So what, if you eat chulent, your name is chulent? You eat some schnitzel, your name is new schnitzel? No. What's the real meaning here? What's the Kadosh Baruch Hu trying to tell us? He's trying to give us an answer. What did Esav really desire in the beginning when he was still in the belly of his mom? Materialism. Materializing a Kadosh Baruch Hu. He wanted an image. We say in our Torah Kedusha, like a Kadosh Baruch Hu says, En lo guf, en lo dmut haguf. He has no body, he has no likeness of a body. The Christians, what do they say? Or they call themselves now a new revised name, Messianic Jews. Same thing as Christianity, by the way. There's nothing Jewish about Messianic Jews. Even the sign is not Jewish. What do they say? They say, no, God is really Yoshke. God, made himself into a body. Unfortunately, some Jews think that their rabbi became a body also, became God also. As I showed you guys a couple of weeks ago from a recording. You see, that's what they learn in certain yeshivot in the world. That their rabbi, that was a tzaddik, unfortunately turning everything that he stood for into the opposite. They tell you that the rabbi became God, or a piece of God, or something God, whatever shtiyot comes into their head. So you can't trust anyone anymore to protect you from Esav. Why? Because Esav, what does he want? He wants materialism. To materialize God, to materialize every desire, everything he wants it now. Everything she wants it today, she wants it yesterday. Why are you late? You should have known what I wanted before I told you. Addiction to stuff. So now, each one of us are all trying in our own ways to be like Yaakov. Why? Because we know that Yaakov's end is, Baruch Hashem, is very good. Yaakov, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Et Yaakov Ahavti. Yaakov, I loved him. I love Yaakov. Like he loved Avraham, like he loved Yitzchak, he loves Yaakov. Yaakov from Yaakov, we are all here. All of Am Yisrael comes from Yaakov. But Esav Saneti, I hate Esav. Even though they're brothers, even though they both have the same father, even though they both have the same grandfather, everything is the same, they all grew up, they were almost identical. Until they were teenagers. So much so, that Chazal says that originally, even though the desires of Esav were terrible, he also had things that were good. To such an extent that half of the tribes, half of Am Yisrael's tribes was supposed to come from Esav. 6 and 6. But because he chose to fulfill his desires in this world, he lost his Olam Haba. He lost his Olam Hazeh, he lost everything. So we want the end of Yaakov, who got all 12 tribes. We want to have a blessing written on us in Shamayim, not curses, not hatred. Want to arrive to Hashem and say, oh, tzaddik or tzaddikah has arrived, a nice welcome. That's what we want. But we have desires. We have desires that make us, unfortunately, sometimes act like Esav. So, the question is, how do we deal with this? Now, there was a certain Rishon, a certain Chacham, lived about almost 800 years ago, after Rabbi Yonah and the Ramban. His name was the Rashba, Rabbi Shlomo ben Aderet. And in his Sefer, one of his Sfarim, Chidushei Agadot, he writes the commentary and explanation on all of the different stories in the Gemara. All of the different Agadot that we have. Like some people, they like to make fun of the Torah, even if they call themselves religious. Why? Because they don't understand what it says. They don't understand the real significance and the depth of the story. So they assume it's optional to believe this. Anytime somebody says it's optional to believe something that's in the Gemara, that only shows you one thing. That person has exercised their option not to read the Gemara. Why? Because the Gemara says, if you don't believe something that's in the Gemara, you're a kofir. You cannot be counted in the minyan, even if you put yourself a title of rabbi. And unfortunately, there are certain people in the world that say it's optional to believe certain things. First, understand what's being said. Then criticize it. Then say what you want to say. See what all the Chachamim before you have said. Don't think that you're such a big Chacham that you could just decide that you're going to criticize all of the giants that came before you. Now the Rashba, he wrote a book, took all the Agadot that's in the Shas, in the Gemara, and he gave commentary and deep explanation about each and every one of them. And one of the Gedolei Hador from a little over 100 years ago, Rav Yechiel Michael Feinstein, the uncle of Rav Moshe Feinstein, alav shalom. He was also a giant in the Torah, and he would say that learning the Rashba straightens your mind, makes your mind straight, makes it straight, where it takes your brain to good places. This is something that is very much needed in our generation, because you see that sometimes people learn Torah, but they still have thoughts of kfirah. Many times, those thoughts of kfirah stem from two places. One, a specific sin of gilui arayot. For men, it's wasting seed. For women, it's a promiscuousness, or even if she's immodest regularly. And the second thing is a teacher. That's a heretic himself. If you learn from a heretic, you will become a heretic. Why? Because we do not have such mental prowess and such holiness that we can decipher the holiness within the heresy that he says. That's what the Gemara in Moed Katan says. If your teacher, if your rabbi has midot and character traits like a Malach Hashem, he's trying to be a Malach Hashem, he's trying to be a good guy, learn from him. But if he has filthy character traits, he's arrogant, he does all types of things, he makes fun of the Chachamim, makes fun of the Torah, makes fun of all types of things that are holy, not allowed to learn from him. Not that you shouldn't, not allowed. On the first one, it says you should learn from him. You should learn from the guy that's trying to be a tzaddik like Malach Hashem. The second one, it says not allowed. Now you shouldn't. Meaning it's an avirah. Meaning it's a sin to learn from someone that's a heretic. Unfortunately, today, Rabotai Yekarim, somebody asked me just a few days ago, Started a new website in the UK, torahsecrets.uk.com, for some rabbis. But he asked me, can you recommend some rabbis that I could put on the channel? I gave him a few names. And he says, you have any more? I said, I'm sorry, I can't vouch for anybody else. I don't know. I mean, there might be other people. I personally can't vouch for anybody else in the English-speaking world. There's so many. Yeah, but today, the number is great. But as far as someone that I could say, you know what, I'll put my olam haba on it, that this guy says kosher Torah, I can't tell you this one is good. That one is. I know the ones that are bad. I know a few that are good, but not many. Not many. Why? Because unfortunately, it's only a matter of time before you see some of these people taking the Torah, crumbling it into like a toilet paper, and deciding to give their own opinion instead. Why? For the comfort of the tzibur, the comfort of the crowd. Whatever is popular with this kila, we'll say here. Whatever is popular with that kila, we'll say there. If they speak to Haredim, they'll talk about stuff like that. They speak to modern Orthodox, they'll talk stuff like that. And they change. You know, like Plato. Someone like that, now let's learn from him. So, now the Rashba, he's one of the Rishonim, one of the giants that we had, that his Torah strains your mind, meaning that it literally, once you learn it, you literally understand how you're supposed to think. How you're supposed to think about everything. And he has a beautiful chidush. It says in the Gemara Masechet Brachot, page 58, it says that Rabbi Meir Balanes, anytime it says Rabbi Meir in the Gemara, it's Rabbi Meir Balanes. Just like anytime it says Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, even though Rabbi Meir has several names, and his name was really not Rabbi Meir, the reason why he's called Rabbi Meir is because Meir means he brought light. What light? What light? Brought light to the world of his Torah, of his holiness. Now, the Rashba says that Rabbi Meir says that at the time of Yam Suf, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu split the ocean, we see from the Torah, the Rin Torah, that it says something that we say regularly. Az Yeshir Moshe, the Shirah. Az Yeshir Moshe. All of Am Yisrael started singing with Moshe Rabbeinu about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, sanctifying him. And then Rabbi Meir Balanes says, when it says the verse, Ze li ve'anveu, this is my God, and I will glorify him. Who said this? Who sang this? Who's doing this? Rabbi Meir Balanes says, the little babies inside their mommy's bellies, they were singing it. It says that the belly became transparent. So women that got pregnant already were at the time of Egypt, that means that they had 6 of them. 6 little babies. Oh, every woman has a belly. The belly becomes transparent. You get six little munchkins pointing at the Shamayim. Ze li v'adveu. This is my God, and I will glorify him. Imagine. So Rabbi Meir says, the babies inside their mommy's bellies were the ones that were singing the Shirah LaHashem. Where do we learn this from? We learn this from the book of Psalms. David HaMelech writes a psalm in chapter 68, verse 27. He says, "B'makhelot baruchu Elohim, Hashem mimkor Yisrael, mimekor Yisrael. In congregations, bless God, my Lord, all who descend from Israel." So the Rashba says, what does this verse have to do with this? It says this is the verse that talks about the kids, the babies, pointing. They were descendants of Am Yisrael. They were pointing and saying, this is God and I will glorify him. How do we know it's talking about the babies? It says, Makor, the Gemara in Masechet Nida, says Makor is another name for the private part of a woman. So, makor mekoma tmeah. Tameh. So the Gemara Masechet Nida says that a makor is tameh, meaning it becomes tameh, which is the part of the female body. Once a month, she has a time of the month, it becomes tameh. And the Gemara goes into extent and details how the tum'ah of the nida is more impure than anything else in the world. Not that it makes the woman a bad woman, not that chas v'shalom it makes her evil, chas v'shalom. In essence, this is a time of the month, the woman is forbidden to her husband. If she has her friend, her girlfriend, and her girlfriend, every time she sees her, she wants to give her a hug, no problem. Her husband, on the other hand, is not allowed to touch her. Why? She's tameh to him. She's also never allowed to touch any other guy. But the point being is that, unless it's her father, and some say, yeah, what about her brother? What about her brother? If she's a grown woman, the Rambam says, if she's a grown woman and she touches or hugs her grown brother, only stupid people do this. That's what the Rambam, that's the actual language of the Rambam. Meaning, it's not a sin like it is some strange man, because that's Shem Yerachem, that's completely forbidden. You see sometimes weddings, bar mitzvot, all types of things, or at the Bet Knesset sometimes, you see women that are married hugging their next door neighbor or their different people. How are you? How are you? How are you? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm out of here. This is a place of Gilu Arayot. What is she hugging you? No, but it's Bet Knesset, they're good friends. What good friends? She's an Eshet Ish. She's a married woman. She's not allowed to touch any other man. Not allowed to touch any other man. Even her husband, the Shulchan Aruch says, she's not allowed to touch him in public. In your private home, no problem. As long as she's not nida. In public, you're not even allowed to hold your husband's hand. That's what Shulchan Aruch says. But unfortunately, people are confused in this generation. Why? They've modernized the Torah so much that you see many times rabbis of Keilot have their profile pictures on their websites or Facebook pages with their wives and kids hugging their wife. You know, they want to show the people that they love their wife. What they're not understanding is they're showing the people also, if the people understood, they're showing that they hate Hashem. Why? They don't follow His law. They may not mean that, but that's what it shows. You can't tell your wife, honey, I love you, and you have a girlfriend on the side. Can't. It's not. You could say, I love you until you turn blue in the face. If you have a girlfriend on the side, you don't love anybody other than yourself. So, now, a Isha Nida, an impure woman, she has a time of the month, she's forbidden to her husband. By default, any woman that's not married, she's not allowed to go to the mikveh, which means she is always Nida. So all of the guys that have girlfriends, if you want Gan Eden, leave your girlfriend or get married immediately. You want Gehenom, continue in ignoring me. Continue ignoring the Torah. Why? Every time you touch your girlfriend, whether it's touching hands or Shem Yerachem, even worse, every single time you are building yourself a nice penthouse in Gehenom. This is what Torah says. Why? Because it's Isur Nida. Isur Nida is one of the worst crimes in the Torah. To such an extent that the Arizal says, if you violated the Isur Nida one time you were with the Nida, one time, not every week, every day. Some guys, they find a new wife every day. They think they're having a good time. One time you touch the Nida, you have to fast 82 times. Pretty much kill yourself. 82 times, one time. Now, obviously, since our generation is very, very weak, no one can fast 82 times unless they're an extremely holy person, and they divide it over a period of time. What do you do if you had your Baal Teshuvah, or even if you're not, or you're now a Baal Teshuvah, whatever you are, and you did it a bunch of times? What do? First of all, stop. Don't tell me I love her, I don't love her. Don't tell me anything. Tell Hashem. Second, you have to stop the relationship. 2, you have to make sure you never do it again. Don't put yourself in a scenario where it's going to happen again. Third, you have to start doing serious teshuvah by learning about the topic. That's going to give you strength to continue not doing it again. And fourth of all, you have to help other people discover the truth about Isur Nida. Even if you're married and you never knew that you're not allowed to be with your wife whenever you feel like it, or your wife didn't feel like going to the mikveh, but now, Baruch Hashem, you learn and she goes to the mikveh, and you still have to do Teshuvah. You have to educate people to let them know. How do you educate them if you're not an educator? You give them the shiur, you fast forward it to them, you press share. Bezrat Hashem, they do Teshuvah, it helps you. Last but not least, you have to do tikkun. What's a tikkun? Just like tikkun of wasting seed, you have to, each time a person wasted seed, it's 84 fasts. Each time he touched the nidah, it's 82 fasts. Each time. So now people can't fast that many times. What do? They do it with money. So the Chachamim say you have to take money. How much money it costs you to eat per day? How much money it costs you to eat per day? Let's say, for example, it costs you, I don't know, $10 a day to eat. Unless you eat out every day, then it's going to cost you $100 a day. No wonder nobody has any money yet. But the point is, if you eat at home, it costs you, let's say, $10 a day to eat. That means for each time you sinned, you have to fast 82 times. So that is 82 times 10. $820. You have to donate to Zikuy Rabim, to Kiruv, to help people do Teshuvah, because that helps you with both aspects. Now, what if you did it 1,000 times, and you don't have $8 million? No problem. Kadosh Baruch Hu knows you don't have $8 million. What do you have? You have $82. You have $800. You have $8,000. Now, what do you have? You have something? Everybody has something. Start with something. And then make it on a regular basis, little by little, you're going to start doing it. Even if it's literally $8 or $8,000 or whatever you have, start donating for this specific purpose on a regular basis. Every single month, every time you get a paycheck. Why? You have to fix it. You don't want to show up to Shamayim with these tikkunim undone. Some people go to the extent where they literally go to Yerushalayim, to the neighborhood of the Bukharim. There's a place over there full of Mekubalim. They do specific tikkunim for people. They still donate to Kiruv and other places. They don't have to necessarily donate to the Mekubalim. But the point being is that people that understand are very, very scared of showing up to Shamayim with these sins on their hands. Needless to say, Isur Nidah is no different than the Isur of wasting seed. Many times it's both. Many times he was with the girl and he wasted seed. So it's both he has to fix. Point being, Rabotai, fixing, doing Teshuvah is not cheap. And it's not easy. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not expecting you to do it overnight. He's simply expecting you to start. Do something. Do something on a regular basis. So now, the word Mekor means the area of the woman. Now the Rashba says, now that we know that this verse that's talking about the babies, pointing at HaKadosh Baruch Hu and saying, this is Hashem and I'll glorify Him, we have a miracle to explain. What's the miracle? It's a miracle that most people either don't know about or don't discuss. What miracle? The Rashba says it's well known that pregnant women can have miscarriages if they see scary things or they have too much anxiety. Yet, despite the fact that the Am Yisrael had the Egyptians chasing them to kill them from behind, the ocean in front of them, and a desert on the right and left full of anacondas and scorpions the size of humans, no one out of Am Yisrael had a miscarriage. If you're going to talk about anxiety, what? You're late for rent, you're late in your mortgage? Is that bigger anxiety than being where Am Yisrael was before the Yam Suf split? Even after the ocean split, how do you know it's not going to collapse on top of you? Even after it's split. You go walk in the middle of the ocean and, oh yeah, it's not going to split. I'm the last one. Maybe it's going to be a mistake. I'm going to be the last one. It's going to fall on me. Maybe the Egyptians are going to catch up. What ended up happening is that the whole Yam Suf was like a shape of a rainbow. You went one end and you came back to the same end. So many of Am Yisrael didn't know what happened to the Egyptians. They thought that it's a trap. That's so much anxiety. You're carrying 6 little tinokot in your belly and you're not anxious. So the Rashba says, look at this miracle. This place naturally, with the nature that HaKadosh Baruch Hu instilled into the world, Yam Suf was supposed to turn into a bet kvarot, a cemetery. A cemetery, Hashem Yerachem, of babies. That's how scary it was, the whole thing. But yet, Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu miraculously strengthened the hearts of the women, making this one of the biggest miracles that's not discussed. So now the question, the Rashba says, so who said the Shirah? Who's the one that actually said the song? The babies. The babies were the one that was singing. Why were the babies ones that were singing? Because they were the ones that were singing, praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu for not killing them. They were praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because right now, any moment, she gets stressed out, we're finished, guys. One guy tells his 5 brothers and sisters, hey guys, listen, everything's on the line right now. Everything's on the line. I'm nervous. The other one says to them, I'm also nervous. They speak Hebrew, by the way. Yeah, nervous. Everybody's nervous. Why? Any minute, we're out of here. But miraculously, they see everything is good. They see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the heavens, opens the heavens. They point, everything is good. They start singing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You guys were all there, you just don't remember. Bad memories. Now, so what's the meaning of the end of the verse itself when it says Mikor Israel? Now that we know that Mikor has the meaning, the hidden meaning of referring to the babies, but what's the pshat? Meaning, it still says the basic meaning of the verse says Mikor Israel, meaning the descendants of Israel. So the Rashba gives the chidush that all of this preparation was for. He says Mikor Israel, descendants of Israel, means this. There are one of 2 options available. One, that the only babies that were saved and not miscarried were descendants of Am Yisrael. But there were some miscarriages there. Who? The Erev Rav. The Erev Rav, the wicked ones, those that came from Egypt, wanted to fake conversions, there could have been some miscarriages from them. Why? Because they're not descendants of Am Yisrael. But he says there is an option 2. Option 2 is, due to the merits of Mikor Israel, of the descendants of Am Yisrael, even the Erev Rav got protected. And there was no miscarriages even for them. Explaining 2 things. One, there is a significant difference between Mikor Israel, Yaakov, and Erev Rav, Esav. You have to know this. In your mind, you have to make this huge difference in your mind. Why? Because you may have a relative that you care for that's potentially Erev Rav. You may have a father, a mother, a sister, a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife that's Erev Rav. Because with all of the stuff that's happened over the generations, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spread Erev Rav even among the Jews. You don't know who's Erev Rav just by looking at them. You only know by what comes out of their mouth and how they behave. So first thing the Rashba teaches us is that you have to make a distinguishing difference in your own mind. There is a difference. There's a Yaakov, there's a kosher Jew, and there's Erev Rav. Even if that Erev Rav is your cousin. No, I love him though, he's a good guy. So what, he doesn't keep Shabbat. So what, he has a website against rabbis, but he's a good guy. He lent me a few dollars last month. He has the qualifications of Erev Rav. And don't go there and tell him, yo, by the way, you're Erev Rav, but he has the qualifications. But don't lose hope. Why? Because of the second part. Second part is that the power of Yaakov can even save the Erev Rav. The power of the Kedusha of Yaakov, if implemented the right way, could even save the Erev Rav. Your cousin, your uncle, your father, your mother, your nephew, your son, your daughter, your wife, that's right now hates Torah and everything about it. She has a whole web page against me. She has a web page, I hate Yaron Reuven. Why? Because he teaches Torah. Good, no problem. You can still save even her. No problem. You could save her. Will you? That's a different story. It's possible to save them. Hard, but possible. I wouldn't necessarily invest all my energy on trying to save Erev Rav, because there's plenty of people that are Yaakov that just don't know it, that you could save easily. But nonetheless, don't lose hope. Don't get offended. Don't get to a point where, I'm going to give... No, it's okay. Every one of us is related to some Erev Rav. Even if they're not mamash Erev Rav, they act like it. So now, Rabbi Ephraim asks, each one of us has to ask ourselves a question. It's easy to look in the mirror and say, I'm Makor Israel. I'm Yaakov. I'm Yaakov. Yeah, that guy who's sitting next to me. That guy on the bus. That guy works next to me. He's Erev Rav. I'm Makor Israel. Every one of us really looks at ourselves. We're Makor Israel. We're Yaakov. Everybody else is Erev Rav. Question is, who do we act more like? If we're looking to fulfill every single desire and every whim that we have, that's what Esav, their grandfather, was doing. If every time there's food being offered, you go even if you're not hungry, that's a little bit of Esavish. If somebody tells you, listen, there's Shiur Torah, you want to come? Are they serving food there? No, I'm busy. No, it's Shiur Torah. Were they offering food? Yeah, maybe they have some cupcakes. No, I had some cupcakes. No. Oh, there's Shiur Torah. Oh, there's food? Yeah, they're giving Chinese food. Okay, I'm coming. Yeah, but didn't you just eat? Yeah, but a little Chinese food, that can never hurt. Little Chinese food can never hurt. That's a little bit of Erev Ravish. Not saying don't come. I'm just saying if you only come because of the food, it's a little Erev Rav. A little bit. It's like Midat Erev Rav. It's like it's like sometimes you have like this, get a car wash or something, and the guy missed the spot. But that's the main spot you brought the whole car to fix. But he missed it. That's it. It's like, you washed the car, it's good, but you missed the whole thing. The whole point of why I'm paying you $20 is for that one spot. Come on, no. That's the point. If you're only coming for the food, okay, come. It's okay, but... So now, Rabotai Yekarim, sometimes we don't know that we act like it. For example, in my shiur in California, some time ago, a few people in the crowd found it funny. And since I don't have many jokes, I remember my jokes. I said, sometimes a person, he likes a song that says Hashem. Well, it makes him feel holy. So there's a few songs that secular singers sing. One famous one is Mishe Ma'amin Lo Mefached, whoever has emunah is never scared. Another one is Akadosh Baruch Hu, we love you. And sometimes you see people singing these songs, Mishe Ma'amin Lo Mefached, they're jamming in their car while they're driving on Shabbat. He just finished Kiddush. He's all pumped up with Hashem. Yeah, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach. He's got, he's got Nisim Black on. Yeah. While he's driving on Shabbat. He forgot that Shabbat, you're not supposed to drive. He forgot that you're actually saying Hashem Melech while you're spitting on him in the face. While you're stepping on him, while you're stepping on his Torah and burning it to pieces, with every single time that you like to turn on the ignition, every single time you press the pedal, You're burning Hashem's Torah every single time you press the pedal, anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000 times. Now, if you ask any Jew, even if the Jew doesn't like the Torah, even if he's a lefty liberal, but still somewhat normal, which is kind of hard to find but nonetheless exists, even if she's a feminist, even if she's one of these Anshe Kotel, you tell, listen, ma'am, here's a Sefer Torah, $100,000, do me a favor, burn it for me. You're almost never going to find a Jew to do this. I say almost because there's unfortunately some surprises. But nonetheless, it's hard to find a Jew that's willing to burn the Torah. Even during the Holocaust, there's stories. There was one particular guy was a complete heretic. They asked him to burn the Torah. He said, no, I'm not burning the Torah. The Nazis asked him to burn the Torah, do his business on top of the Torah. He says, no. He says, we're going to kill you. He says, kill me. And they killed him. During his life, he didn't keep a single mitzvah. Married a Goya, worshipped idols, did everything possible. During the Holocaust, he said, to save your life, do your business on top of this Torah? No. Burn this Torah? No. They killed him. Same thing happened at the Bet HaMikdash. One Rasha Merusha in the Gemara, it says, made every sin under the sun. Titus asked him to do certain things for him against the Torah. He wasn't willing to do it. He killed him to pieces. Cut him to pieces like steak. He was willing to do it when he was, before this whole thing. But to save his life, he wasn't willing to do it. Why? Because we don't think that when we drive on Shabbat, or when we go with a married woman that's not our wife, or when we eat non-kosher, or when we go with a girlfriend without marriage, or waste seed, or even forget to do tefillin for like a year straight. Forget. You forgot to do tefillin for a year straight. Or you forget half your dress at home. You only wear the mini part at the bottom. Or you walk around without sleeves, without arms, nothing. As a woman, you forgot to do the mitzvot. You're burning the Torah. You're burning the Torah. A woman tells me today, listen, I have a problem. What's the problem? We grew up in a Orthodox home. Everything is good. But my daughter now, she's in her 20s. She has a non-Jewish boyfriend. Orthodox home. Everybody's religious. But the girl wants to marry Yoshke. She wants to marry Mustafa. How could this be? In the same message, says, yeah, the reason why she didn't really care is because she was really agnostic. In so many words, she's atheist or close to it. That's the truth. How orthodox is she if she doesn't follow the Torah mitzvot? We don't think that violating the Torah is burning it. That's why sometimes you'll see a precious Jewish neshama praying on Shabbat while he's driving on Shabbat. Saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love you, while he's violating Shabbat, while he's violating every mitzvah in the Torah. Because we don't have the connection between the two, has been damaged. By what? By Esav's desires. We have a desire to go to a nightclub so we can meet someone that can fulfill our animalistic behavior. So that desire, we're so enamored by it, we're so addicted to it, that we forget that there's a connection between Hashem and Shabbat. We forget there's a connection between marriage and being with somebody. We forget. That desire that Esav lost his Olam Haba is what's ruining ours. So that's why even though sometimes you're not from Zera Amalek, you're not from Esav, you're Yaakov, we act like Esav. Now, Am Yisrael, at the time of the ocean, really the ocean has a malach, has an angel. And the angel came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, I don't want to split the ocean for these people. I don't want to split them. Why should I split it for them? Why? Because because they're descendants of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. They have nothing to do with them. Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov were tzaddikim. These people, the Midrash says, some of the people brought their avodah zarah to the ocean. They crossed the ocean with the avodah zarah in the bags. That statues in the bags. So the angel goes to Hashem and says, Elo avdim avodah zarah, ve'elo avdim avodah zarah. These Am Yisrael, these Bnei Yisrael are worshipping idols. Look, they have in their bags idols. And the Egyptians that are chasing to kill them also worship idols. So why should I split for them and drown the others? It's not fair. So truly, out of everybody, there wasn't many tzaddikim. There wasn't many tzaddikim yet. Later on, they will become tzaddikim. But truly, there was only a few people that were so righteous that they had confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they wanted the Torah, they wanted to fulfill the mitzvot, and they had trust in Hashem to no extent. You had Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, Miriam, all the prophets. You had Yeshua ben Nun, Caleb ben Yefuneh. You had Nachshon ben Aminadav jumped into the ocean first. You had a few, but not many. So who did the ocean split for? You can't say it split just for those handful of people. Maybe, you had Shevet Levi. Okay, so you have, let's say, 20, 30,000 people. But you have millions there. You have millions of people. Who did the ocean split for? So the Rashba goes into this whole miracle. He says, the Gemara Masechet Nida, page 30, says that there's an angel teaching every baby the entire Torah. But to such an extent, while she's in the belly for 9 months, the angel teaches them Torah that's far beyond what their body is going to be able to handle once they leave. He gives them abilities they will not have normally once they leave. For example, a baby can see from one end of the world to the other end of the world. If their father went on a trip to some other country, he can see him. No problem. He doesn't need a phone, doesn't need Skype, nothing. Abba, you better remember to bring him a present. That's what he's saying. He knows what's going on. A lot of things that the angel gives the abilities of the baby, a human being that's after cannot do. But in addition to that, he teaches them an immense amount of Torah, the entire Torah. So although there was Moshe, Aaron, the tribe of Levi, Nachshon ben Aminadav, Yeshua ben Nun, Caleb, Miriam, a few others that were that had bitachon in Hashem, the ones that had the most amount of bitachon were the babies. Because they literally were learning the Torah and seeing Hashem live. So although Hashem said that based on nature, the Teva, a Teva is another name for God. HaTeva, numerical value, 86. Elokim, numerical value, 86. A Teva, the nature, is just another way Hashem disguises His own behavior. So although to the nature that Hashem instilled into the world, they shouldn't have been able to keep the pregnancy, the women shouldn't have been able to keep the pregnancy, the bitachon that the babies had while they were inside them, learning the Torah, seeing Hashem, singing to Hashem, was so high that it was impossible for Hashem to let anything hurt any of them. Hence the reason why He split the ocean for them. So now, the Rashba asks a question. What about the babies of the Erev Rav? If they were saved, not the ones that died. Let's say the ones that saved. We go with the argument that they were saved due to the merit of Bnei Israel, Mikor Israel. What about the babies of Erev Rav? They were going to turn into being Rashaim. So the Rashba says, Mishoresh Nachash Yatza Tzefa. It says that From a snake, from the root of a snake came the viper. From here we learn that these babies grew into the ones that torture us to this day. We saved them, but there was a few of them that didn't do Teshuvah. More than a few. Until this day, they're torturing us. And until this day, they're being born. How are they being born? A person who doesn't ensure that his home is full of Kedusha and Tara. The Rashba says these Reshaim, these vipers, will come from him. Rachmana litzlan. Meaning that they're already evil while they're in the belly of their mother. We learn this from Esav and Yaakov. Esav, although he had traits to do great things, he already had evil traits from the beginning. Now, the Orach Chaim HaKadosh elaborates on this. What does it mean if they don't act with Kedusha and Tara? If they don't learn Torah, they don't do mitzvot. If the father doesn't learn Torah, don't be surprised if your son wants to be a football player. If the father doesn't watch his brit, don't be surprised if your daughter wants to marry Yoshke. If the mother doesn't keep Tarat Mishpacha, don't expect anything out of this kid other than bad. Why? Because that's what our Torah says. And that's what the Orach Chaim says. In Parashat Tazria, the Orach Chaim says, all of the behavior and holiness of a child will stem from the Kedusha of the parents during the act itself. How they behave during the time that they're intimate. Don't complain if your 17, 18-year-old kid has no interest whatsoever in Moshe Rabbeinu. But he could tell you everything about Messi and Ronaldo. He could tell you everything about the salary cap of the NBA, the NFL, and the MLB. He could tell you everything about every sport. He could tell you who won the last contest on some singing contest. He could tell you everything about that stuff. But you tell him, listen, what about Shabbat, mitzvot, Esav, Yaakov, any of that stuff? No interest whatsoever. Why? Because that means you have something to do with it as a parent. Where do we learn it from? From the root of the snake comes the viper. You're the snake. That's what the Orach Chaim says. You're responsible for it. Doesn't mean it's permanent. Doesn't mean that you can't do anything about it. But don't blame God for it. You did something. Now, Masechet Kala Rabati, in Perek Aleph, says that there are certain people that are considered like mamzerim. Mamzer is someone that comes from a forbidden relationship between a man and somebody else's wife, an eshet ish. The son from there is a mamzer. A mamzer is forbidden to marry a normal Jew. He's only allowed to marry another mamzer or a convert. Not to say that the convert, chas v'shalom, is lesser than a normal Jew, but that the convert could actually rescue this mamzer from eternity of being a mamzer. He's a mamzer. His kids are going to be mamzerim. That's like his descendants' way out of being a mamzer. But they cannot go to a normal Jew. Many times people would know who they were and what they were in the previous generation. There used to be a book, a sefer that every community had, where you came from, who's your father, who's your mother. So if there was a mamzer, they knew that you're not allowed to marry certain people. We lost this sefer orachim of every generation. We lost it. So now we're forcing Hashem's hand. We're forcing Hashem's hand to do His will in order to eliminate this. Sometimes you see strange deaths in the world. Sometimes that's the reason. I know firsthand a story. Someone told me that he discovered later in his life that he himself was a product of incest. He himself was a product of incest. His mother had intimacy with her brother. Now she didn't know he was her brother though. The mistake was really done by her mother. Anyway, long story short, She fell in love with who? With her brother, who she didn't know was her brother. And what ended up came up this guy. Now this guy already found out when he was already older. He's married, he had kids, he had a kid. What are you going to do? I saw this firsthand. I'm telling you, it was one of the scariest stories I've ever seen in my life. I would talk to him once in a while, and his pride and joy was his son. His whole life, his pride and joy was his son. His son had a kid. He was so happy. One day, he sends me a message, crying, hysterical. What happened? He said, we don't know what happened yet. All I know is my son decided to take his little baby son. His son's a grown man. Took his baby son, I think it was maybe 6 months old or a year old, to the store with him. Put him in a baby seat. Turned on the car exploded, and they both died. Now, he wasn't a mobster. He wasn't connected to any gang or any drug dealing or nothing. To this day, no one can explain why the car exploded. I can explain it by telling you that Hashem didn't want to see in the world. It's very sad, but that's Yad Hashem. Yad Hashem. Sad, but it's a reality. Why? As long as he continues lineage, he's continuing the original sin. Intentional or unintentional, he's irrelevant. So the Chazal says here in Masechet Kala Rabati, in Perik Aleph, that there are certain people that are considered like mamzerim. They're not mamzerim mamash, but they have the character traits of the mamzer. And one of them, I'll give you just a couple examples. I'm not going to go through all 10. 2 examples. One is a child of a nida. A child born from his mother when she was with her husband, but she didn't go to the mikveh. She wasn't pure. She either never went to the mikveh, or they pretty much decided that this month we're not doing it, and they were intimate, and the child was born from that. She was nida. Gemara says this is like a mamzer. This kid is going to be born with the worst character traits in the world. He's going to be a chutzpan. He's going to be this. He's going to be a lot of bad things. It's going to be very, very difficult for this kid to get close to the Torah. He's going to have a certain disgust to the Torah. Ununderstandable. Like he doesn't know why he doesn't like it. No one knows why he doesn't like it, because everybody else is, let's say, religious. He doesn't know why he doesn't like it. She doesn't know why she doesn't like it. Second example is that the Gemara says that's like a mamzer, not an actual mamzer, is if the husband or the wife, while they were intimate with each other, they were thinking about somebody else. Hashem Yirachem. In today's world, these are normal things. Sometimes they go to marriage counselors and tell them, listen, what? Your intimate life is not good? Why don't you put on a video and look at all the disgusting filth in the world while you're together? Get yourself more excited about each other while you're thinking about some filthy person. This, Rabotai, is the filth of filth, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says this is like a mamzer. Now, the Zohar Kadosh says that a child that comes from a nida, child that comes like this, is a child that's going to be literally as if he's the power of the Satan brought him to the world. He's going to have a lot of midot mushchatot, a lot of bad character traits that he can overcome, she can overcome, but they're going to be very difficult, much more difficult than the norm. The kid has never been with anybody in his life. He's 17 years old, but he wants to be with a guy. Where do you guys think this comes from? She's never been with a man in her life. She's 18 years old, but she declares herself a lesbian. Why? Why do you have this rotten ideology in your head that you don't want to be, you've never been with a man? Oh, tell me, listen, I've been with somebody and I didn't like it, I'm disgusted. Okay, so let's give that argument some value. Something bad happened to her, Hashem Yirachem, a rape, something like that. Okay, I can understand. You have trauma. But today, Rabotai, we have literally people, A woman called me a month and a half ago, tells me her 28-year-old daughter wants to be a man. We don't know why. I told her, how many men has she been with? She goes, never with anybody. There's something wrong. There's something wrong in the water here. Something happened when? Originally. 29 years ago. Something went wrong. Now, it's a very important question though. Now, a lot of people that are frum, or a lot of people that are Baalei Teshuvah, if they're smart, they're going to think about something right now and they're going to start getting worried about what I just said. Why? Two reasons. If you're a Baal Teshuvah, there's a very, very high likelihood that your parents did not go to the mikveh. Your mom did not go to the mikveh if you're a Baal Teshuvah. Why? She didn't even keep Shabbat. You think she went to the mikveh? It's very rare, especially in the exile. Worse yet, as I told you guys recently, there was a study done by an institution in America. In 2017, nearly half of the women that call themselves modern Orthodox, which is like religious with style or something, religious with a Ferrari, half of them, 48% to be exact, admitted that they're not so careful with Nida. Meaning if they skip a month or 2 or 3 or 9, no big deal. More than half of that half said they don't go to the mikveh at all. Meaning they call themselves religious because they cook chulent for Shabbat. They may even keep Shabbat to the best of their ability. But mikveh, nothing. These are the Orthodox. Modern Orthodox, to be exact. Modern Orthodox, nearly half of the children are coming from Nida. Which the Zohar Kadosh says, you have a serious problem because the power that kid's getting is from the Satan himself. So now you have a problem. Why? All the Baalei Teshuvah, what? We're all now Koch of Satan? All of the modern Orthodox, what? They're all from the Satan? Well, what's going on? So they asked this question to the Chazon Ish. Chazon Ish, Gedol Olam. They asked him. There are many Baalei Teshuvah in this generation, they told him, that did Teshuvah after they had kids. Which means that their kids are Bnei Nida. Their kids came from Nida. They didn't know, they didn't care, a mix of both, whatever it is. Bottom line is, she's got 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. Not a single one of them went to the mikveh beforehand. Or 1 out of the 5. Whatever the case is. What do we do with these people? Should we stay away from them? They asked the Chazon Ish, Gdol Ador, should we stay away from them? Chazon Ish gives an answer worth $1 million a month. We take payments though. He says the following. He says, check the children's behavior. Check the children's midot. If they have good midot, they're generous, they're nice, they're not anti-Torah. If they have good midot, that means that the kedusha, the power of the kedusha of the teshuvah that they made, has destroyed the tumah of nida. The teshuvah that the parents did or the child did is so powerful, it destroyed the most powerful power in the world, which is nida. So that already, Rabotai, gives every single one of us a get out of jail free card regardless of where you started. Whether it's Amalek or it's Yaakov, or you don't even know. The power of Teshuvah could destroy all Tumah. Now, but here it gives us an explanation that because of our addiction to desires, to fulfill our animalistic desires, this is leading many people to have strange desires. She suddenly wants to be with a woman, he suddenly wants to be with a man, suddenly they don't want to be married at all, suddenly they want to have, do all types of weird things. These weird things are coming from somewhere. Now, one of the former Rishon LeZion, Arav Shlomo Amar, he's currently the head rabbi of Yerushalayim. One of the Gdolei Hador. He recently had a shiur, and he said in the shiur that the Orach Chaim HaKadosh says that before the Mashiach comes, Am Yisrael will fall into the 50th level of Tum'ah. The worst possible level. Before we got Matan Torah, we had so much idolatry and so many sins and everything that we did, we got to the 49th level of Tum'ah, 49th level of impurity, that had we made one more sin in Egypt, Hashem would have had to destroy the world. Because if we reach the 50th level, there's no recovery from that. But the Orach Chaim says that before Mashiach comes, we will get to the 50th level. But the only reason Hashem will allow the 50th level is because now we have the Torah, whereas in Egypt we did not have the Torah, and now we can recover from it through the power of the Torah. But needless to say, we will get to a level much worse than they did in Egypt. Much worse than just the idolatry and the harlotry and all of that stuff. So, Arav Amar says, I didn't know what the 50th level of Tum'ah is until I started seeing what's happening in the world with all of this homosexuality and filth in the world. He says that he's been getting questions from people for decades. He's an older person. Decades he's been getting questions from people. All types of strange questions. All types of difficult questions about murderers, rapists, pedophiles. All types of things. But he says what happened to him last week is he got a question that is still shaking him up. He couldn't sleep the whole night because of this question. And he knows we are in the 50th level. We're in the 50th level. Why? He says a rabbi calls him and tells him he has a complication. One of the people in the Keilah, Orthodox Jew, religious, Haredi. Not Esav, Haredi. But this husband, this guy, has a problem. What's the problem? Although he's Haredi, although his wife is Haredit, they're religious, they're frum, their daughter decided she wants to marry a woman. Shem Yirachem. She's religious, but she wants to marry a woman. If that's not bad enough, because it's not the first story. We had this in Sodom and Gomorrah. What made this question shake one of the Gdolei Hador last week? He says, the question is, the father says, I'm not going to the wedding. No way in the world. Moche, he's rebuking. No way, I'm going to stand for the Torah. The wife of this Orthodox guy says, if you don't come to our daughter's wedding, I'm divorcing you. You don't come to our daughter's homosexual wedding, I'm divorcing you. And the question is, he comes to the rabbi, he says, do I destroy Shlom Bayit for this? The answer is, of course, you destroy all Shlom Bayit. If she wants to go marry some animal, and the wife wants to be an animal and go to this party, they could be animals together. She's not a wife, she's an animal. She wants to go to a homosexual party, Shem Yirachem. What is this? We take the Torah in the garbage with such behavior. We're going to manipulate it whenever you feel like it. Now, Shlomo Amar says the following. He says that Rabbeinu Yitzchak HaRama, the Baal HaAkedah, he says that העבירה הכי קלה שהציבור מתיר, חמורה 1,000 פעמים מהעבירה הכי חמורה שהאדם עושה לבדו. He says, when the community suddenly makes the smallest sin in the Torah, pick whatever you think is small, smallest sin in the Torah, allowed. Let's say, for example, I'll just give you hypothetically speaking, halacha is mayim achronim chovam. At the end of you eating a bread, you have to put mayim achronim, which is just washing your fingertips. If you say to your keilah, the rabbi of the keilah says, from now on, no more mayim achonim. He's not saying, from now on, you're allowed to eat pig. He's not saying, from now on, you're allowed to marry men with men. He's not saying that. Something small that most of us wouldn't even remember. Suddenly he says, from now on, no more mayim achonim. Or anything else that people think is small. He says, Rabbi Yitzchak Rama says, making the smallest sin into something permissible is worse, 1,000 times worse, than somebody making the biggest sin in the Torah by himself. Let's call it Shabbat. If they said, for example, you're not allowed to do such and such, something small, tiny, and the rabbi says, no, you know what, from now on you're allowed. And it's not allowed, but he says it's allowed, something tiny. That tiny change in the Torah, that change is 1,000 times worse than driving on Shabbat while eating pork. 1,000 times worse. That tiny change. And he continues, Rabbeinu Yitzchak Ramaz says, ומי שלא מבין את הדבר הזה, אין לו תחילת הידיעה בהבנת התורת האלוקים. And whoever does not understand the specific issue, does not even have the beginning of the understanding of the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you don't understand that changing the Torah, even on the smallest thing, on a microscopic thing, and making the smallest sin into something permissible, that's not 1,000 times worse than somebody making the worst sin in the Torah by himself. You don't understand that that's worse. You don't have any concept whatsoever of what Torah Hashem is. You have no idea what it is. To you, it might as well be a history book. Yeah, but I went to yeshiva for 20 years. You wasted your parents' money. You have no concept of what Torah is. So now Rav Shlomo Amar says, this is exactly why HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the world at Dor HaMabul. It wasn't homosexuality per se that destroyed the world. The Zohar Kadosh says there was stealing. That was the last sin that pretty much took everything over the top for Hashem. There was stealing, they were murdering, they were doing every sin. But what was the thing that was most filthy and disgusting for Hashem? When they made marriage between men and men a mitzvah, where they would put a ketubah on it, which unfortunately, Rabotai Karim, is happening right now. As we speak, there are certain people that call themselves religious orthodox that are saying it's okay to marry men with men. Hashem Yerachem. It's happening as we speak. This is why Kadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the world. Rav Shlomo Amar says, we are in the 50th level as we speak. Now, where did these people start? You think these people started, first sin they ever made in the Torah is homosexuality? Does anybody really think that? They went for the home run on day one? Starts different. 60 years ago, 70 years ago, if you looked at the world at that time, and the world Jewry at that time, and you looked at the conservative Jews at that time, you wouldn't find much of a difference between the conservative Jews of 70 years ago and many of the Orthodox Jews of today. What happened about 60 years ago? They made a rule that they wanted to increase the number of people in their keilah. Unity. In the name of unity, what do? You're allowed to drive to Beit Knesset on Shabbat. They figured that if they bring more people that are far away, that are not going to go to shul because you're not allowed to drive on Shabbat, but they're going to make something minor, in their mind, minor, allowed. You're allowed to drive on Shabbat to Beit Knesset. That will increase the size of the keilah. That will increase the bank account of the keilah also. We can build a bigger institution, so on and so forth. get the people to come to move closer because we're doing Kiruv. Doing Kiruv by telling people to drive on Shabbat, Kiruv. And that will improve Judaism. Right? They come to shul. Well, 60 years fast forward. The head rabbi of the conservative movement is openly homosexual. Head rabbi in Yerushalayim. The difference between conservative and reform today is almost zero. They both accept intermarriage. They both officiate intermarriage. The only major difference between reform and conservative is that the reform, many of their people, including their rabbis, are not even Jewish bichlal. Like, it's some Chinese woman from China, never converted to anything, but she decides she wants to be a rabbi. It's a career. No, chazaka ubucha. There is. I'm dead serious. It's real stories. I'm not making this stuff up. As sad as it sounds, it's true. The conservative is still keeping to some extent. They haven't let the goy be the rabbi yet, at least not to my knowledge, and they haven't done bar mitzvah to dogs yet, which the reform already have beat them to that. But as far as Torah, both of them abandoned the Torah Ba'al Peh, the oral Torah, completely. Where did it start from? A small, minor infraction or improvement, if you will, in their mind, of the Torah. Now, for all of us here in Florida, in New York, in America, in Israel, that feel safe because we call ourselves Orthodox, we also know that in reality there are different shades of Orthodox. People give it different names. Modern Orthodox, Haredi, this, that. Everybody's got different shades and colors. Kippah Soga, knitted kippah, black kippah, all this stuff. Tachlis is, do you keep or you don't keep? Now here's a problem. In America and Israel, there is this problem called modern orthodoxy. Why do I call it a problem? Is because the parents don't understand what it means to repeat the same mistakes as their grandparents and change the Torah a little bit. So if you notice, modern orthodoxy, modesty almost doesn't exist. Modesty, for many of the members of the people of modern orthodoxy, modesty almost doesn't exist. To such an extent that all of those girls that I was telling you about, there was the commercial I told you about before, that the little Ovadia said that's commercial, just close your eyes, all of them were modern orthodox. Every single one of them. Their parents that looked worse than them, that were right behind them, it was a worse commercial, also modern orthodox. Said Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. You walk around a Jewish neighborhood on Shabbat, you're going to see a bunch of people that keep Shabbat. But you don't know that until they start saying Shabbat Shalom or good Shabbos. Why? Because you can't tell the difference based on their looks between them and the Goyim. Can't tell the difference. Between them and the Chilonim, you cannot tell the difference. Kisui Rosh almost doesn't exist. And if it does, it's usually a wig that's longer than the exile. You ask the woman, how come your wig is so long but your skirt is so short? If it was the opposite, maybe it would be kasher. Long skirt, short wig, maybe you could find some leniency if it's not from Avodah Zarah. I don't know. But your wig is long, your skirt is short. What happened? No, we're modern Orthodox. We're modern Orthodox. How come you guys, how come you're not wearing tzitzit? How come you don't wear tzitzit? How come you don't wear tzitzit? No, it's hot. It's Florida, it's hot. I'm modern Orthodox. As long as I'm not wearing a clothing with 4 corners, you don't have to wear tzitzit, right, Rabbi? I'm modern Orthodox. Gemara Masechet Menachot says the first people are going to be punished at the time of Mashiach are people who don't wear tzitzit. Modern Orthodox. Modern Orthodox. Why? You were so arrogant of all of your other mitzvot that you gave up on a mitzvah you can make every second. You asked them, how come, Mr. Religious, how come you don't watch your eyes and every woman that walks by you, you look at her even though your wife is right next to you? How come? How come you don't watch your eyes? You know, there's a verse in the Torah, you say Kriyat Shema twice a day. Don't follow your eyes, don't follow your heart. How come you look, your heart and your eyes are already your next door neighbor? They might as well pay rent. How come? How come they're over there so much? Your wife is right next to you. Have some kavod for your wife. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere. And he's everywhere. You have no kavod. You're looking at everything. How come? No, we're modern Orthodox. Modern Orthodox. So they tell you, they have a teshuvah for everything. We're modern Orthodox. No tzitzit, modern Orthodox. No kisui rosh, modern Orthodox. Short sleeve for a woman, the modern Orthodox. Short everything, modern. Everything is modern Orthodox. Have you noticed something? Before the Orthodox comes the modern. Meaning before you're Haredi, before you're Orthodox, which in essence is Haredi, comes the modern. Meaning that when you're modern Orthodox, what's really Orthodox about you? The modernism. The modernism is the Orthodox. The issue that when a person says he's Haredi moderni, he's Orthodox but modern, what does it mean? His zealousness, his avodat Hashem, his everything is being given to modernism. Every day he reviews himself. She reviews himself. How could I look more like the Goyim? I don't want to look like these Charedim. They cover their head with a mitpachat. She looks like Sarah Imenu. Sarah Imenu is already 4,000 years old. Who wants to look like a 4,000-year-old woman? Nah, she has a kisuro. I'm going to cover my head. Oh, he looks like he has a suit on. No, I'm going to wear extra tight. He wants to get his suits from a designer name, extra tight, so you could see every rib in his body. She wants to get all the clothes that fit tight, so you could see every figure and every move that she has. In the name of modernism. Every day he's constantly measuring himself, not against Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. He's not measuring himself against Rav Kanievsky, Rav Ovadia. These are not his role models. Who are his role models? Who are his role models? The Goyim. So when he mentions something, even in a shiur, if he's a rabbi or he's a speaker, what is he going to mention to you as the source for his chokhmah, for his wisdom? He's going to mention the Goyim. Sun Tzu, he's going to mention Noef, what's his name? The big giant guy. Tim Robbins, Tony Robbins, womanizer that he is. He's the role model. He's not going to mention the Rambam. He's going to mention the Rambam next to Tony Robbins. Like as if they're on the same level. Why? Because in his mind, Esav and Yaakov are battling constantly. In her mind, Esav and Yaakov are constantly battling. She wants to go to Shiur Torah, but as long as you don't tell her that she has to be modest. She wants to go to Shiur Torah, it's going to give her chizuk to continue her life as is. It's going to give her chizuk to continue walking around like some person had never heard Torah in their life. It's going to give a chizuk that she's going to have miracles in her life. He's going to have miracles on his life as long as they say this one specific Tehillim once a month, but no matter the fact that she's violating the entire Torah every second she exists. Someone sent me a video today and showed me how a person can manipulate even something holy. A holy rabbi made a shiur, said, this month is a skula, Rosh Chodesh Kislev. If a person does not complain about Hashem the entire month, which is very, very difficult, doesn't only mean you have to be righteous, but you have to be righteous at a very high level. The Chachamim, I think it was one of the Mekubalim in Sfaradim, says that if you do this, you get a miracle. Get miracles in your life. You don't complain about Hashem for a month. In reality, if you do this all year, you're going to get miracles. Don't complain about Hashem. You only think of Hashem. You get miracles all year. But nonetheless, there's a special, auspicious month to get miracles if you don't complain against Hashem. So one woman sends us to another one of my students. She says, see, you don't have to do what Hashem says. Doesn't matter if I'm modest or not modest. As long as I don't complain against Hashem, I'm going to get miracles this month. I said, Rachmana litzlan, from such people. How they manipulate something holy to fit their cheshbon, their whole accounting, and how and who and what, just so they don't have to do tshuva. Problem is, Rabotai, conservative used to be no different than modern Orthodox. The grandkids of 70 years ago today are marrying men with men. Even though the father today can say that it's not a big deal if you're not modest, it's not a big deal if you don't wear a tzitzit, it's not a big deal if you don't cover your head, it's not a big deal if you drive on Shabbat. There's certain modern Orthodox shuls here in Florida that I know of, they literally have 200-300 cars driving in on Shabbat and driving out on Shabbat. Because they're modern Orthodox, and it's not such a big deal. And you're not allowed to rebuke in this generation, apparently. The reality is, Rabotai, the parent acts like this, completely destroys the Torah, thinking that their kid will at least be okay, because he's modern Orthodox. The kid throws out the Orthodox, just keeps the modern. Shows up at the house, Abba, listen, this Torah stuff's not really for me. I'm more modern. I'm going to go be a computer programmer. I'm going to make an app. I'm going to go design some new software. Okay, great, no problem. You're allowed to make money. You're allowed to make a living. Where are you going to live? Oh, I'm going to live in San Francisco with all the homosexuals. Where even the animals in San Francisco, real study was done, the animals in San Francisco have the highest level of homosexuality in the world. Meaning the tum'ah of the people has affected the animals. I'm not sure if Tel Aviv has a zoo, but if it does, it's definitely going to beat San Francisco. Because it's become the capital of homosexuality in the world. Rachmana litzlan, our own home country. So the son says, Abba, I'm going to San Francisco. And what about the grandson? Grandson's just an outright animal. He has no concept whatsoever of what Kedusha is, what Torah is. He marries a non-Jew. She marries a non-Jew. She has no concept and no care in the world of her grandfather's modern orthodoxy. And that's why en bait en bomet. Chachamim say when we do not keep the law of HaKadosh Baruch Hu strict, every house will be affected. Every house. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of food for thought of what the tzaddikim did in order to keep their kedusha. The Steipler Gaon, Rav Kanievsky's father, had Ruach HaKodesh. But you don't get Ruach HaKodesh just by learning books. You get the Ruach HaKodesh by also having midot that match the books. One time he saw that his daughters were going to go to school, but the uniform that they had in the school wasn't modest enough to his criteria. She said, 1 second. He took his coat and he cut the bottom of the coat, and he put it on their sleeves, on his daughter's sleeves. Sewed it on. He goes, okay, now you can go. And the daughter says, but Abba, we're going to look strange. We're going to look strange next to everybody else that we have these... Steipler Gaon says, what's so strange? It's strange that all of them are strange, that they have a Torah that says you have to be modest and they choose not to be modest. That they give you a shirt that's so tight on you. They're the strange ones. You're the normal one. You're the normal one. They're strange that they have a Torah, they have a rule book from a Torah, and they're going to violate it. They're strange. That's a holy person. A holy person thinks like this. Rabbi Ephraim says that when you keep the Torah, even though there are many, many people that are doing the opposite of you. You keep Shabbat, they drive on Shabbat. You keep kosher, they eat taref. You do everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your friend, everybody else is doing the opposite. So it's hard sometimes. Why? because it looks like it's fun. You went to the shul on Shabbat, they went to the game. And when they come back, they tell you a bunch of stories of what happened at the game. Oh, he shot him, and he beat him, and he did this, and he did that, and I met this girl, and we hung out. And they make you jealous of their Yetzirah fulfillment that they did. And you're not coming back from shul, says, oh, and the rabbi said this, and the rabbi said that. You're not saying that. What are you saying? You're saying, oh, Baruch Hashem, Shabbat Shalom. That's the highlight of Shabbat. That's the highlight of Shabbat. Okay, there was maybe a shiur, got a little excited, but no one's coming home with excitement like he came from a game. So it sounds like it's more fun to be at the game. Always remember, you are the Mekor Israel. If you are fulfilling the Torah, you are the true descendants of Israel, and for you the world exists. They, until they do Teshuvah, are simply a fake version. There's the real bag that costs $2,000, and then there's the fake one for $15 in Chinatown. They both look the same, but everybody knows the real one is the real deal. Everyone knows. If you tell a woman, listen, let's say money is not an issue. Which bag do you want? The $3,000 Louis Vuitton that's really coming from the store, or the one we got from Chinatown that's $13? Which one do you want for your birthday? Money's not an issue. Not a single woman on earth will say, I want the $13 fake. Not because of the look. Because they're so good today, you can't tell the difference. Not because of the look. No one wants to have a fake. No one wants to be fake. Even the ones that walk around with a fake. Don't tell anybody, oh, by the way, you see my fake bag? No one does that. Yeah, I just got it from Chinatown, $13. Ha, you paid $13,000 for yours. No one does that. When your girlfriend say to you, wow, it's a nice bag, where'd you get it? It's your birthday? Yeah, my birthday. Tisha B'Av maybe. $13 in Chinatown. But you're not going to tell her that. Why? Because you want to think it's real. Until you can afford the real one. Point being is, Rabotai Karim, when you keep Torah and mitzvot, it doesn't matter that they're more numerous than you that are violating the Torah. You are the real version. You are what the Torah says. You are the Mekor Israel. What's the biggest proof that a person can verify and validate that they are Mekor Israel? By fulfilling the mitzvah of Kiruv. By fulfilling the mitzvah of helping other Jews do Teshuvah. Why? Because we learned from the Rashba, the only reason why the Erev Rav was saved was because of the power of Mikor Israel, of Yaakov, the Kedusha of Yaakov. When you do Kiruv, whether it's donating money, or it's giving out CDs, or it's sharing in the shiur or others that we do, when you bring people to the lecture, you try to get other people that are not necessarily on the right path. They're like a little fake, a little Esav, a little Yaakov. They want to be Yaakov, but they're doing a bunch of stuff Esav does. When you try to bring them and you do everything possible to bring Kedusha to their life, you're validating for sure that you are Mikol Israel. Why? Because the power of your Kedusha can change them even if they're Erev Rav himself. Even if they're Erev Rav. This is why each one of us should never ever give up on doing Kiruv. There are some people you need to give up on. If they're anti-Torah to such an extent that they make fun of it. It's better you give up on them because in essence every time you come to them, they make more sins. Go find somebody else. Even though it's not yours, that somebody else is not your brother or your cousin or your loved one, try to help other people do Teshuvah. You don't have anybody that you want to help do Teshuvah? Donate. Take the money that you work so hard for and give it towards Kiruv. We'll help them do Teshuvah. All of these shiurim are free, but they cost money. The point being, Rabotai, the way to validate that we are Mikol Israel, that we are Yaakov, is by helping other people take part of the Kedusha. This is the biggest difference between someone that's Mikol Israel and someone that's simply Esav. Now, unfortunately, Esav and Erev Rav don't just sit there quietly while Yaakov does Kiruv. some of Esav's descendants are very strong, evil people. And I'll give you a couple of examples. One of the most loved Jewish people that's lived in the last 100 years is Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. This is a person that was a Ish Kodesh, huge Talmid Chacham, and loved Am Yisrael in a very high level. Anyone that saw the video that we publicized today, where a frum scientist, who himself is about Teshuvah, did research on the aura of people. You know, aura, everyone knows, is a real thing. But he did something different, something unique from what other people do. Other people that use this machine to see what the aura is of a certain person, they see what your status is, what changes you, what doesn't change you, if you're doing this, if you're doing that. This Jew, this frum Jew, did something unique with this machine. He analyzed what the aura of a Jew looks like while he's fulfilling mitzvot and when he's not. And it's amazing how the colors change, where it looks like when a person does a mitzvah, he literally becomes like a Malach Hashem, becomes like an angel. White or purple. When not doing so much, yellow, that's the standard. Doing something bad, like for example, wearing a tefillin that's pasul, that's not a kosher pair of tefillin, it becomes dark, as if you're making a sin. Wear a kosher tefillin, becomes purple, like a purple crown on top of your head. You see the video, it's on our website, on our YouTube page. We publicized it today, it's like 6 minutes. Interestingly enough, he also covered kisui rosh. He said when a woman covers her head with a mitpachat, it's like a man wears tefillin. Woman doesn't cover her head, it's like yellow standard. Woman covers her head with a wig, it's like bad tefillin, Shem Yirachem. It's like unkosher tefillin, he says. He goes, I don't know, he says himself, I don't know what's in these wigs, but every time we checked a woman wearing a wig, it was like the same results that we got when a guy was wearing tefillin that were not kosher, where the cloth was taken out. As if it was worse to wear the wig than to not cover her hair at all. This doesn't mean that you don't cover your head, it's a mitzvah. You're still making an avirah. If you're a married woman and you have a head, you have to cover your head. If you don't have a head or you're not married, you don't have to cover your head. But as long as you have a head and you're married, you have to cover your head with a mitpachat. Sometimes we forget our head, but we still have one though. It's attached. Don't leave home without it. Now, one of the interesting things he had in the video is he had a video of Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, he takes a video of him. Naturally, he looks like, without anything, he looks already like somebody that's wearing tefillin, purple. When he put a talit on, just talit, not tefillin, just talit, he looks like white. Something that most of us probably can't even reach. Even if we put on tefillin, 2 of them. That's how holy he was. So, and this is scientific research. Believe, don't believe, that's your business. It's funny how anytime science proves that Torah is real, no one wants to believe it. Anytime science looks like it's contradicting the Torah, it's because science is wrong, but that's a different story. And, oh, see, science said. All of a sudden, everybody became a scientist. They don't even know how to spell science, but they're scientists. So now, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, one time they invited him to do a series of lectures, an all-day marathon, from the morning till night. And he was the head rabbi of Israel at the time, Rishon LeZion. And they had, go to this place in the north, an hour and a half lecture, half hour to the next place, an hour and a half lecture, 15 minutes to the next place, an hour and a half lecture, from morning to night, one lecture after another. He was already older, but for Torah, no problem. They arrive at the first location. They see that his big posters have been torn off and replaced with another poster. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu is sick, shiur canceled. He's not sick. He has no idea who said he's sick. They go to the door with all the people. They go to the door, locked. They find the Gabbai of the Knesset. Oh, for the Rabbi, I thought it was canceled. You're sick. He goes, no, I'm not sick. Baruch Hashem, not sick. Can you open the place? He goes, yeah, but I don't think anyone's going to come. Maybe someone's going to come. He goes into the place, wait for an hour and a half, not a single person shows up. Okay, let's go to the next location. They go to the next location, same exact thing happens. The poster is down, replaced by a different poster. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu is sick, shiur canceled. Now this is a nice poster, they put a lot of money into this. Shiur canceled. Again, they wait an hour and a half, nobody shows up. The next place they go to, same exact thing happens. Meaning this Rasha Merusha, this Erev Rav Amalek, invested time, money, resources, and everything to destroy one shiur after another. The people that were helping Rav Mordechai Eliyahu were so upset, they couldn't believe somebody would do such a thing. In Eretz Yisrael, we're not in the UK with Mirvis. We're here in Eretz Yisrael. What's going on? One shiur after another, one after another, 3, 4, 5. Everything is canceled. It's obviously the whole thing is a system. Some Rasha did all of this. Why do we call it a day? He goes, no. We already made a schedule. Maybe somebody's waiting for us at that time. One place. The whole day was one after another. He goes to every place, waits there for an hour and a half. Nobody shows up. They leave. He doesn't leave as soon as he sees nobody's there. Sits there. Nobody's there. Okay, nobody's there. What can we do? We leave. Upset a little bit that, you didn't do Kiruv like you wanted to do. You didn't give chizuk to the nation like you wanted to do. But what can you do? It's beyond your hands. That's the will of Hashem. One place they arrive to, a woman arrives. And she sees there's nobody there. And then the rabbi arrives. He goes, oh, okay, it's Baruch Hashem. Somebody goes, oh, I saw that there's a poster right there. The shiur is canceled. You don't feel well? He goes, no, I feel well. We can do a shiur. You could be in a shiur. An hour and a half he gives this woman a shiur. But he gives a shiur as if there's 5,000 people there. Just missing 4,999. That's it. He gives the shiur with all the passion and everything, like there's nothing wrong. They complete the day, one person the whole day. It's supposed to be tens of thousands of people. At the end of the day, all the helpers are really, really upset, but there's nothing you can do. Who is this Amalek that did all of this? No one knows. Who is this Rasha that manipulated and did all this? No one knows. But that's the will of Hashem. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu goes back home, goes back to the Sfarim, and like as if nothing happened. Well, he knows whatever happened, HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed it to happen. Years passed. Many years passed. And one day they get a call at his office and they say, there's a guy, a respectable guy, he says, I want to meet with the Kvod Rav. Sure, he comes, meet with the rabbi, a respectable religious guy. Sits with the rabbi, says, Kvod Rav, I want to let you know that you influenced my life. He says, who are you? He says, many years ago, you had a series of shiurim that someone ruined for you. Put signs in every place. And you didn't have any shiurim except there was one shiur that you had one woman. He goes, yeah. He goes, I was one of the bodyguards that was hired for the day. He was a Rishon LeZion, has to have some people to protect him from the crowd and so on. I was one of the bodyguards that was hired for that day. I was a young kid. And I was hired to watch out for you. But I wasn't religious. I just was hired for my job. But I saw how this old man keeps going to one place after another place, and there's nobody there. But you keep trying. And you keep going to another place, and you never slow down. You never lose steam. And I said, what is he fighting for? Why does he care so much? What does he have that's so valuable that he's willing to put everything on the line just to share it with even a single woman that he doesn't even know? I must look into this, whatever this guy has, whatever this old man has. And I looked into the Torah. I found the truth. I did Teshuvah. I married a kosher woman. I have Baruch Hashem kids. I started teaching Torah, started doing Kiruv, helped a bunch of people do Teshuvah. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu says to his Gabbai, look at what happened and we didn't even say a word. Imagine they let us speak. Imagine they let us speak. When a person means well, he means to bring Kedusha to the world, even something that seems simple, just his action, just him going to the store, just him wearing a kippah, just him wearing a tzitzit, just him doing a favor for someone, opening the door, being kind, doing business, his day-to-day behavior will help people do tshuva. Needless to say, if he actually tries to do more than that. That's the difference between someone that's Yaakov, that's Mikor Israel, versus Esav. This, Rabotai Yekarim, is something that we are all capable of doing. We're all capable of sharing Kedusha around the world. All you gotta want to do is, number one, you be authentic yourself. Don't be a faker. Don't be one of these modern people that cuts a new mitzvah that doesn't fit your life or your desires every other day. And don't ever think that the secular person has a better life than you. That's a mistake. That's a very big mistake. People think that secular people have a better life. That's a very serious mistake that they have. Why do they think this? Because they see these people coming back from the game, coming back from the sports, coming back from all types of things, and it looks like they're having fun. Sometimes the avrech, a person that learns Torah all day, all night, he makes the mistake of thinking that some of his family members are having a better time than him because they're not religious. To show the truth, all you got to do is wait a little bit. Wait a little bit and then see what unfolds eventually. What unfolds eventually? Baruch Hashem, I'm older than most of you. And I could tell you, I used to admire really, really rich people. Although I was rich, Baruch Hashem, before Hashem took all that tumah away from me, Baruch Hashem, I admired people that were much richer than me. Until I learned about their life. I admired people like Warren Buffett, people like Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos. These are people that are on the Forbes 500, multi-billionaires, richest people in the world. Average person in the world today admires them like they're God. Why? Each one is on the Forbes 500. Each one's on the news every other day. Each one has billions and billions of dollars more than you have hair. So you figure this guy is admirable. But once you learn about their life, you see how despicable their life really is. Warren Buffett, his own wife left him because he's simply unbearable. Even though he looks like a nice old man that eats a burger for $2 a day, that's his breakfast every single day. He has $80, $100 billion. He doesn't want to spend it though. So he buys $2 McDonald's burger every day. That's his breakfast. He still lives in the same house as he did 50, 60 years ago, as he grew up in. He doesn't want to buy a nice house to fit his budget. He doesn't want to spend his money. Thinks he's being wasteful, as if he's taking the money to get home with him. Relationship with the kids as if they're strangers. And his wife left him. The love of his life left him. Well, he's unbearable as a human being. He's cute, like a teddy bear on TV. In reality, who could stand this? Steve Jobs. Everybody admires Steve Jobs, the Apple phone, real genius, and so on and so forth. All these people are geniuses. Doesn't mean they're good people, though. You read his bio. I was on the board of directors of a certain producer that made a film about him. He told us himself. I was really surprised. The most surprising thing about investigating Steve Jobs' life. What was surprising? Everyone that knew him hated him. Everyone agreed he's a genius. But they all hated him. Why? He was simply a rotten human being. Atheist at his core, rotten human being. Jeff Bezos, the current richest man in the world, started Amazon. He has a defense mechanism, a psychological defense mechanism. Every time he's uncomfortable, he has this obnoxious laugh. They make clips about it on TV, how funny this laugh is. Anyway, he looks like a really happy guy. $100 billion, why wouldn't you be happy? His wife left him, divorced him. He cheated on her on top of that, if that's not enough. And best of yet, it's a known thing. A known thing, there's a meeting at Amazon every day. Someone walks out of that meeting crying, hysterical like a little baby, because of what Jeff Bezos did to them. How he insulted them and embarrassed them that day. Every day he murders somebody in cold blood. These are the people that Esav admires. These are the people Esav admires. Who does Yaakov admire? Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, the Rambam, the Chazon Ish, the Ben Ish Chai. Why? They are the exact opposite of all that. It doesn't mean that they were all poor. It doesn't mean that they were less successful. It doesn't mean any of that. It means that one had an instruction set from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and one had an instruction set from the Satan himself. What's the instruction set from Satan? Follow your desires. You want a woman? Go look for one in the streets. Wherever you can find one, just get one already. You want food? Go to any place, just eat whatever you can get. You have some type of desire, fulfill it ASAP before it runs away from you. That's Esav. The difference between Esav and Yaakov, Rabotai Karim, is not the intellect, it's not the mental prowess, it's not the what family you came from or what family you didn't come from. Because as we already saw, even if your family didn't keep any mitzvot and you came from Nida, you could still be Yaakov. Because the power of Teshuvah can overcome all the tumah in the world. The major difference between Esav and Yaakov is what you do with your desires. If you try to fulfill every one of your animalistic desires, as if that's why you live in the world, you may succeed monetarily, you may not. But life, for sure you will fail. You will live a life that's a complete failure. But if you fulfill the Torah and the instruction set of the Torah, desire will simply become part of your life. Good will be your entire life. The right direction will be your whole life, your destination. Why? Because you have a guaranteed track record from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the only difference between the two. How you treat your desires. If your life is about fulfilling desires, unfortunately you're acting like Esav, even if you were born Yaakov. If your life is about fulfilling what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said you should fulfill, which still means you'll have desires that you'll fulfill, just in a kosher way. You can eat also, but you'll eat kosher food. You can have intimacy also, but just with your wife when she's after mikveh, and so on and so forth. You, my friend, will live a life of Yaakov and Sarah and Rivka and Leah and Rachel, and you will be in Olam Haba with them as well, in a good place. This Be'ezrat Hashem will give each and every one of us that's doing Teshuvah, that did Teshuvah, that's trying to do Teshuvah, a little bit more chizuk and a clear understanding of what's the difference between Esav and Yaakov, but also where you can be. Not where you are. It doesn't matter where you are, but where you can be. All of us have the power to do it. It's simply how we treat our desires. Be'ezrat Hashem, it gives all of us chizuk to do Teshuvah, to get closer to Hashem, and get further and further away from Esav, while also bringing the ones that are acting like Esav together with us to act like Yaakov. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen.